Salute the black men. Let's get straight to it. Brad is the original deadbeat dad. The original deadbeat dad. You know, when you see these Keisha content creators or these black male content creators make these blanket statements about the things they're talking about, and they don't come up with any facts, statistics, you're supposed to just automatically believe it. What ends up happening is that those people that listen to them relay that information somewhere else and they start looking like fools. That's not what I do here. That's not what I do. I'm not going to have the brothers out there looking crazy just because I decided not to do any research. I decided I don't think anything's important enough to read. I decided to just start freestyling. No, I'm not doing that. Not doing that. Brad is the original deadbeat. During the Great Depression, when the stock market crashed, 1929, right? People literally went from okay to poor overnight, right? And during the depression, from in like 4 years in, right? What you started seeing was the decline in marriage, and also you started seeing a lot of these brads abandon their families. You started seeing that. You started seeing them divorcing their wives. The thing is, back then, you can do that, and they weren't able to put you on child support, right? Spousal support. They weren't able to do that, right? And the thing is, usually women didn't have to think about that, but when things got thick, Brad decided to run. During that time, during the 30s, the early 30s, black marriage was at 80%. 80%. Becky and Brad was married at 61%, and it was steadily declining. Steadily declining. And Brad was out. Brad was out. He said, you know what? See you later. I'm gone. I'm out of here. Arrivederci. Sayonara. Whatever you wanted. He was gone. And you had a lot of Becky's complaining about it. You had a lot of Becky's complaining. They were complaining. They were complaining to the president at the time, Franklin D. Roosevelt, and they were saying that they're left without any support. They're going hungry. They don't know what to do. See, you were able to go to the government, right, and get things, right? You was able to go to the government, get some money to buy some food. Here's the catch, though. You had to pay that back. You had to pay that back. That was welfare back then. You had to pay that back. Whatever you took from them, you had to pay that back. And if you didn't pay it back, they put you in jail. So say, for instance, you went to the government and you took, you asked for $30, $40, right? They gave you a time frame when you had to pay that back. That's why a lot of people, when they did go to the government, they didn't ask for a lot because they understood that if they did, they had to pay that back. So they would go and ask for $1, 50 cents, $2, just the 30s. They was asking just enough for them to survive the week, get some meat, get a little piece of meat, get some bread, make a stew, stuff like that. So they wasn't going there asking, but they still had to pay that back. And Becky was literally begging on the street with her children. Begging on the street with her children. So what ends up happening, right? Franklin D. Roosevelt put into act, and remember, he introduced the New Deal. He introduced the New Deal. He had to put a program called the New Deal Domestic Program for them. It was the Social Security Act of 1935. He had to put that in just for them. The domestic deal. The New Deal domestic program, excuse me, domestic program. You can look it up. He put that in there for them, not for black men. Black men were still with their wives, taking care of their children. It was tough, but they still was there. It still was there. That was the forerunner to child support and the welfare system. This act established to aid the families with dependent children. Brad was gone, man. Brad was gone. The marriage rate kept going down for them. At that time, they were 61%. And it just kept steadily declining. Few years later, it dropped another 8%. So when that was happening, right? Black men were still taking care of their children. Black men were still going out there working on whatever they can to provide, whether it was working in doing construction, working working on the docks. A lot of times what they were doing was putting them in there as demolition crews, breaking down buildings, manual labor, real manual labor, breaking down buildings so they can rebuild the building there. They did a lot of that. A lot of people didn't want to sign up for those type of jobs because it was taxing on the body, and they had a few fatalities back then, and they were doing that. They were going out there doing that. These brothers was out there doing that. And through the difficult times, black men stayed. It wasn't even a thought, black men. It wasn't even a thought about them leaving their families. It wasn't even a thought. I talk about the Great Depression a lot. I talk about that time a lot because it was one of our most trying times. And it was already tough. It was already hard for women to get jobs. Seamstress, washing clothes, doing laundry. That's what they usually were doing. But it was hard for them to even get those type of jobs. So when the Depression came around, there was no jobs at all for women. At all. So she couldn't go out there and provide. It was the man, and he had a difficult time going out there to find employment. But black men decided to go out there, stick it out, and do what they're supposed to do, right? Brad bounced. Brad was bouncing to the point they started complaining to the president. To the president. So how did we get the face? How did we end up becoming the face of it? Face of the of this degenerate action? The women that black men took care of during the hardest time. And understand something, the Great Depression, when people think of the Great Depression, they think the Great Depression just came and went. No, the Great Depression lasted well over a decade. Well over a decade. You know what actually got the United States back to some semblance of productivity? World War II. When it started in 1939, you started seeing more jobs pop up, more factories, warehouses, steel mills. You started seeing a lot of these pop up. That's what got, America back on track to trying to get out of the effects of the Great Depression. America was still feeling the effects after the war. Still feeling the effects after the war in 1945. After the war, when the war, when the war ended in 1945, America was still feeling the effects. Slowly but surely was getting out of it. Black men were there. They weathered the storm. The children and the women were able to weather the storm because of black men. So how did we become the face of it? I tell you why. I tell you how. As always, Keisha did that. Keisha did that. You didn't start seeing this until the 70s. By then, she already took bread's crumbs. You didn't start seeing this, to the 70s, 80s. That was never us. You ain't start seeing that until the 70s, mid 70s. Because they were programmed to do that. They were told to do that. They would put the battery in their back. Becky runs them. And Brad ran Becky. Brad told Becky to do that. Hey, I need you to go and tell Keisha this. We can't tell black men anything. They're not listening to us at all. That was Brad. We can't tell black men anything. They're not listening. They already know what they already know what we're trying to do. They hip to us. That was Brad. He told Becky, but is Keisha hip to you though? All right, well, I need you to go do this. Let's see if they fall for it. Hook, line, and sinker, Keisha fell for it. And all of a sudden, we became the face of degeneracy. Oh, we're deadbeat this. We're predators. We this, we that. So for all you detractors out there, people who have issues with what I be talking about, say things like, oh, why you always advocating for brothers to date out and marry out and stay away from Keisha. What would you do in your personal life? In your personal life, if woman that the woman that you was with lied on you, the woman that you was with turned on you, the woman that you was with is disloyal, treasonous, traitor. Talking about the woman that you're with, backstabber. You tell her it's a wrap. This relationship is not working out. I'm tired of you doing this to me. I'm tired of you doing that to me. I'm tired of you being disloyal. You give it a boot, right? All right, here's the door. Kick rocks. Well, that's the black man when it comes to Keisha. He's tired. He's tired of the betrayal. He's tired of every time he extends his arm to help, his hand get bitten. He's tired of every time he gets with a Keisha, there's always some strife, that she's always trying to undermine him, and she'll listen to everybody else except the man that she's with. He's tired of watching her obey a police officer's command. He's tired of watching her obey her boss's command, but won't obey his. He watches, he looks and sees these things and say, well, if that's the case, she'll listen to everybody else except me. And then you start to realize, why do she listen to everybody else except me? Think about the two scenarios I pointed out with the police officer and her boss. Think about that. Why would she listen to them instead of me? That's what black men started thinking. Why would they? Consequences. That's why. Consequences. You don't listen to the police, they lock you up. They'll give you a ticket, whatever. There's some sort of consequences there. They put you in those metal bracelets. You don't listen to your boss, you lose your job. Consequences. They only respect consequences. That's all they respect. And black men, for the longest, let these things go on without any consequences. They let it go on for too long. No consequences there. Oh, you don't want to listen to him giving you a direct order to do something? Okay, cool. Okay, cool. That's okay. That was black men. Oh, you tell her, hey, I need this done, I need that done. Don't listen. Okay, cool. You tell her, hey, I'm doing this. I need you to fall in line. Okay, you're not going to do it? Cool. That's all it was. Cool. Be cool. That's all black men were. Cool with everything. Cool with everything. One of my favorite quotes come out of a movie, The Education of Sonny Cost. Every time you want us to be cool, every time we be too cool, we going to lose. Remember that part? if we be too cool, we're going to lose. That's all we kept doing, was losing. Because we were cool with everything. Now brothers ain't cool with it no more. Okay, you don't want to listen? It's a rizzy for you. It's a wrap. You're done out here. No reach back. That's not happening. That's all we were doing. We were cool with everything. And that's the reason why our image ended up being portrayed as such. Because black men, right at the time, were too busy building. They were too busy building. I give them that. Yeah, I give them that. You know, black men, when they realized who Keisha was, they started to go elsewhere. They started to be a part of other people's communities. They started going here. They started going there. They start leaving Keisha alone. They started saying, you know what? Okay, Keisha, you don't want to listen to us, but they didn't give direct opposition to Keisha when she was putting out these images and narratives of us, these books, the media. They didn't give direct opposition. They didn't. And that's the reason why we ended up being the face of degenerate acts, because there was no direct media opposition to what Keisha was putting out. That's why I don't want to hear nothing about black men. To all you black male content creators that, just got to throw black men under the bus every now and then to appease your Keisha followers, yet you want to talk about Keisha, you're a bozo. You're a bozo. You know why? Because for decades, 6 decades, that's all Keisha did. 6 decades. They only been getting pushback for a few years. As far as media was, a few years. And they can't handle it. So as soon as I hear these, black male content creators say things like, yeah, and brothers need to get it together too, you're a bozo. You're a clown. We had enough of that. Brad is the original deadbeat. All these laws, child support, welfare, all this came because of his degenerate actions when it came to him leaving his family. So if you want to blame anybody about the court system, you can blame Brad. You can blame Brad. Anyway, peace to black men.